Aamir Khan and Jyoti Deshpande, it is a pleasure to speak to you here on BBC Asian Network. How are you both?
Thank you, Haroon. Thank you for having us. We just flew in last evening.
Yes, thank you for having us. It's a pleasure.
The pleasure is all mine, honestly, because I actually rewatched Lost Ladies over the weekend. I remember having this hugely overwhelming feeling of optimism and hope and love, and just my heart feeling warmed the first time I watched it, which was earlier this year. And to feel those exact same emotions this time round means that it wasn't just a fluke, it wasn't just a one-off incident. You really have created something special here. How proud do each of you individually feel of this film that you've made?
The first person to read the script was me. I was part of a script competition and I came across the script and I just fell in love with it. I thought it was, such an amazing script. It's, as you said, it's so warm, it makes you feel so good. It's about such important issues, but it says it with such a light hand and with such warmth and inclusion in many ways. So that's what really touched me about the script. And I felt that Kiran was the right director for this. And I was hoping she would like the script because she's someone who's so honest with her work. And the story, as you know, is very dramatic. It's girl gets mixed. And so the situation is very dramatic. But she handles, I knew that she would handle it in a very real way. And when you handle it with a lot of honesty in the performances and the way you, do the scenes, the way the scenes play out, they look so real that the drama actually gets enhanced without you having to push it. And so I'm really proud with the way the film has turned out. And when I saw the film, I thought Kiran has done an absolutely amazing job.
And Jyoti, for you, I mean, what a wonderful addition to your slate of films this year, from Teri Baaton Mein Aisa Ulja Jiya to Shaitan to the success at the box office with Singham Again. But to have this gem...
And
Stree too,
Stree,
of
yes.
course, of course. To have this gem in and amongst that, it really is the shining jewel amongst them all.
I agree with all the things that Aamir said about how well nuanced the film is. But as a studio, what we like to do is we like to celebrate quintessentially Indian stories and take those stories to the world. So Kiran has really done a masterful job in all the layers that she's built into the story and how well nuanced it is. And I know that as we interact with people who've watched this film multiple times, they are discovering, new layers as they have a different favorite part of the film that they sort of discover each time they watch it.
The overwhelming theme that I come away with from this film is just freedom. Freedom of choice, freedom of expression, freedom to be and pursue whatever you want to do. And Aamir, that is a reoccurring theme in films that you choose to put your name to, whether that's Dangal or Secret Superstar. This theme of being able to do as you please. How important is that for you as an individual to give out to society, that message of freedom?
That is a message I feel which is very important. I think a lot of us, people like me and Jyoti, we've grown up in large cities. India is a very complex country. So we've been very privileged. Just by the fact that we were born in a large city with education, and with things around us. So I feel that that's something that needs to, grow. And the understanding that all of us ought to be free to decide even little things about our own lives, which unfortunately a lot of people don't get to. And so this is a theme that you're right, actually I didn't realize it, but it's a recurring theme. Secret Superstar had that. Dangal, absolutely. Laapataa Ladies, yeah.
Jyoti mentioned something very important, which is that the film is so universal. It could work anywhere. It's actually very applicable to British Asian society. Very small themes in the film about domestic violence. There is this element that one of the women's husbands, if she was to stay with him, she would be in a very abusive marriage,
Yes.
And again, Secret Superstar touches on that theme very, very well as well. Why is it that, we are 80 years on from independence, we are very much a progressive society, and yet these really ingrained elements of patriarchy remain in place. It's almost like you can scratch and scratch and scratch, and yet they remain in place.
Well, these are deep-rooted concepts. So they won't go away overnight. I think these are deep-rooted concepts. And also I think a lot of, I mean, I don't know whether I should say this or not, but I think a lot of males are very insecure, about, they have a fear that giving, or I mean, it's, first of all, is not theirs to give, but in the scenario that we live in this patriarchal society, a lot of men believe that they have the power to decide how much independence should be given to the women around them. And that's not so nice. But I feel that these are things that they gradually change. I think stories is what really change people's hearts. You can try and convince a person in an argument with logic, but that only goes so far. Finally, it's emotionally convincing a person. So I believe that it's through stories and through characters that you can touch people's hearts in ways. And then that any change is gradual over time. It's very unlikely to see a change happening overnight, especially in something like patriarchy. And that's very deep-rooted, not just in India. It's all over the world.
Aamir, the films that you make are so influential. Most of them have something more to say than just entertain. And clearly that means films have a part to play in society. But talking about the expectation of a man in society, there are films being released at the same time as yours, which really encourage a more chauvinistic image of what a man should be and almost do the opposite of what your film aims to achieve. How do you feel about that?
Not nice. It pushes us back by a decade. So that's sad. I wish we didn't see that, but that's part of life. I think also the fact is that each one has their own opinion, so people have different opinions. A lot of people endorse patriarchy in a very strong way. A lot of people endorse patriarchy in a very hidden way as well. So that's something that we have to deal with. It's part of life.
The character that you showed, Deepak's character, the character that Sparsh plays, you can see this man grappling with so many insecurities himself of how he is expected to behave, how he is supposed to take control. That burden placed on men in society can be hugely problematic as well.
Sure.
How do you, in the way that you behave and the way you conduct yourself as an individual, aim to break that?
Well, the thing is that I, as an individual, I've grown up with very strong women around me. My mother, my grandmother, my aunts, my sisters, both my wives, ex-wives. So I've actually grown up with a lot of strong women around me, and so maybe that's why I don't feel threatened, as a male, because I see that as a positive thing. A woman who's strong is very positive, and she can only help me, if you know what I mean. So, so for me, I think my upbringing has been quite good, actually, the way I've been brought up. And I've also, going on the theme that you were mentioning, I believe that I have done a lot of films which have social issues, but it's not as if I'm picking scripts which have social issues. That's not how I go about it. Because I strongly feel that as a creative person, my fundamental and primary responsibility is to entertain. If you wanted a lecture in sociology or feminism, you would go somewhere else. You would go to a college, you would study sociology, you would study the subject. But if you're coming to a cinema hall, it's quite obvious that you're coming to have a good time. So my primary responsibility is to entertain. But when I'm listening to scripts and reading scripts, I also, because of the kind of person I am, I guess, because of what affects me, I naturally get attracted to scripts which are also saying something important. But that's not why I'm selecting them. I want you to understand that. I'm selecting films as a creative person when the material excites me. And I'm aware that here is a script which is very good, but it also talks about something really important, and that's great. So
entertainment with purpose.
Yeah.
I also feel that that really is the larger responsibility of creative people. Poets, writers, actors, songwriters, musicians, artists, painters, all of us. What is it that we contribute other than making you feel good and other than touching your heart in some way? The other thing that we actually do is that we build the social fabric, or rather, we can contribute, if we so desire, to building the social fabric of a society. Because we are the people, the creative people are the people who can touch people's hearts. It's building human beings.
The problem becomes, though, Aamir, when you do a film that is solely to entertain, there is now a large section of the audience who have an expectation from you that there will be something more. So when you do a film that is just an out and out, action adventure like a Tugs or, even a Lal Singh Chaddha, although that does touch on a lot of thematic issues, there's still this expectation that Aamir will give us more. Is that a burden on you?
No, not at all. I think Thugs is not a case of that. Thugs was just a film that I believe was not a very good film. So it did not work because I didn't talk about a social issue. That's not why it didn't work. I think people saw the trailer. The trailer was very well received, by the way. The film got a huge opening.
I have to tell you, I enjoyed the movie.
Well, I'm not so happy with how Thugs turned out myself. But no, I don't take that. It's not a burden on me. No, I go with my instinct as always, which is if I love something, then I want to do it, and usually it's for both creative and for example, a film like Delhi Belly, there's no social commentary over there really, or a film like Dhoom 3 for that matter, or Gajni. So these are the better made films, which are entertaining. They may not have a social issue, but they're just hard entertainment which gives you a good time.
Yes.
So that's good. That's good too. I think it's important to give people a good time as well.
Well, what a great time to be Jyoti Deshpande, because I mentioned the films that you have had in your slate this year, but the real varied range of subject matters that Hindi cinema specifically has shown on screen. How are you feeling about the future, the next steps for Hindi cinema? Not only is Lost Ladies, in this long list of films that could be nominated for an Oscar or a BAFTA, but there's an excitement in the air that actually 12 months ago did not exist.
It came from adversity. Actually, what sort of the Indian entertainment market went through was a very dismal period in terms of theatrical releases post-COVID. There were some successes, but the predictability had gone haywire. There was a lot of dependency on filmmakers to sell their or license their movies to OTT platforms beforehand. And as a studio, I wanted our stories to resonate with theatrical audiences first of all. If it's not good enough for someone to buy a ticket and come to the theatre, then it's not good enough for OTT as well. We want to give wings to real storytellers with the correct intent. Outcomes sometimes don't translate, but we've had a great year. I don't know if we can ever replicate the success of this year again. It's a tough act to follow, but God has been kind.
Aamir, for you, this is reliving history to a large extent. 23 years ago, your film broke records. Lagaan was nominated for an Oscar and remains the last Indian film to be nominated for an Oscar in the international film category. Why do you think it hasn't happened again in 23 years?
I think people forget that that's probably the toughest category at the Oscars. Because when you're competing for best film or, best, whatever the regular categories are, you're still dealing with, you're competing with a limited number of films. But in best foreign language, you're actually competing with the best film from each country. Now, let's look at India. We make 1,000 films a year. To get selected from India, you have to first cross 1,000 films.
Yes, very important point.
People forget that.
Yeah.
And then you are in an arena where there are 80 other films, roughly. I think 80 this year?
Yeah, 85.
And to get nominated amongst 80 films is itself tough. So I think that is one of the things that we need to understand is that when you're The reason why you don't have nominations every year for India, let's say, is because the fact is that there are films from Iran, from Germany, from France, from all over the world, which are very good films. So you are actually in very good company. So to get nominated is a huge deal, I think.
I had interviewed Shah Rukh Khan a few years ago, and I had asked him the same question. Why do you think no film has been nominated for an Oscar since Lagaan? And he said,
Lagaan was a combination of art and a commercial film together, and it was a wonderfully made film. And we'll have to change the format of our films. If I'm invited to your party, I need to dress up in the code that you tell me to. I cannot be wearing my code of 2.5 hours with 5 songs. We'll have to change that.
No, I don't agree. Because Lagaan was 3 hours 42 minutes. 3 hours 42. And it had 6 songs. And it got nominated. To get nominated, the members have to really love your film. So the fact is that Lagaan proves that a film with songs, which is also very long, is not a problem for the Academy members. According to me, it is how good your work is and how you're able to touch the hearts of people. Because members are also human beings at the end of the day. You have to accept that other countries are also making equally good films. There's nothing wrong with that. When you're winning the 100 meters race or you're winning a Wimbledon, because you're winning the points. So you clearly have done more than the other person, or have been able to achieve more than the other person. But in films, as a jury, I'm comparing one film against the other, and they're totally different stories. Both the films are touching me in totally different ways. And I might like both films as much. And then you're asking me to choose one of them. So then I'll choose one of them. There is no exact science to it. So we should not take it so seriously also. This is what I keep trying to say. Just because I feel that Tom Hanks or Tom Cruise has done a better job than Denzel Washington in some film, it's my opinion. It may not be your opinion,
23 years ago, Lagaan was shortlisted, and now we're submitting this film, Lost Ladies, and both are set in quite rural, traditional settings. And to an extent, they do play into the Western gaze of what they still think India is. There is a little bit of a backwards mentality that this film presents and tackles, but presents, that plays into the idea of, and I don't like this term, but poverty porn. It's the same thing that Slumdog Millionaire was accused of. It's the same thing other films have been accused of. Why can't a contemporary film set in an urban Indian setting, showcasing what the real economy of India is in some of its bigger cities, be accepted by the West?
Of course it can. And they're accepted very often. I mean, so many films that we make are not just all set in villages. And a lot of our films are accepted all over the world. I don't think that audiences all over the world have any major misconception of how India is anymore. Maybe at one time that was true, that they felt that there were snake charmers and rope tricks and elephants.
Yes.
I think that's a thing of the past now.
So
they've seen enough from India.
They've seen
I
the
don't
Ambani
think our
wedding.
film is, so I was coming to the point that I don't think...
I think I don't think people across the world have any misconceptions of how India is anymore. Not to that extent, certainly. And I don't think that films that are set in cities don't do well in India, don't connect with audiences across the world. Of course they do.
Stree is
I meant more so with the kind of the kind of stereotypical Academy members, but I completely...
I don't agree. I
hear
think
your
the Academy members are very savvy. They know
Yeah.
what's happening in the world. They've seen enough films from all over the world to know what's happening. I think we should give them a little more
credit.
Yeah,
We'll only
We
give
should
them
trust
credit.
theme resonating is more important than where it's set.
I tell you what, we'll only give them credit when they shortlist Lost Ladies. That's when we'll give them credit. Finally then, Aamir, I have been containing myself because up until now, I promised myself I'd only be speaking to Aamir Khan, the producer of Lost Ladies. But now let the fanboy erupt a little bit because you are also my childhood hero. You and
thank
Shah
you.
Rukh and Salman, you have defined childhood for so many millennials like myself. And when I speak to my younger cousins and they tell me they know you from Three Idiots and they know you from PK and they know you from Dangal, I'm like, no. You need to know Aamir from Andaz Apna Apna. You need to know Aamir from Raja Hindustani. And you need to know Aamir from my favorite film of all time, which is Ishq. And what a movie, Aamir. What a movie. What are your memories of Ishq?
Well, Ishq is it's a mad film, I have to say, and it has some really mad scenes in it. Indra Kumar, the director, has a crazy sense of humor, and he really goes he has no, what should I say? He has no filter. Yeah,
Filter is the word you want.
So that's a great quality to have. I think Indu's strength is that he has no filter, and then he just goes all the way. It was fun doing Ishq. It was really fun. It's always fun working with Indra Kumar. Yeah. But that's not one of my favorite films, I have to
You know,
tell you.
apparently, and you actually complete my puzzle today, Aamir, because I've spoken to Ajay, Juhi, and Kajol all about that movie, and all
Yeah.
three of them tell me nobody had any idea what was going on that film. It was being shot all over the place. It was being reshot, and
Yeah,
it was just
there's a lot of
pieced together.
reshooting on that. Yeah, so it was fun to do that film, and I'm glad that people enjoyed it, and it was a mad, journey for people watching it, and it was very successful. But not one of my favorite films, I would say.
That makes me sad because Dichu, which you do with that fake knife, and Juhi
Yeah.
smearing toothpaste all over your face. Those are
Yeah.
iconic scenes.
I know, it's very strange. Some of my films that I don't like very much, I find that some people really love them. For example, Ranbir is a huge fan of Awwal Number.
Awwal Number.
And I really am not very happy with that film at all. I mean, I've been a great fan of Dev Saab, but I'm not very happy with the film. But at first I thought Ranbir is pulling my leg when he said, "Sir, that's my favorite film." I said, "Ranbir, come on. Don't pull my leg." Then he started narrating each scene to me and each and every dialogue. And he said, "Sir, you don't understand. I was a small kid when I was watching this film. So in my eyes, this film is one of my favorite films."
Wow.
So I was like, okay, what can I say?
What is your favorite film, Aamir, of your own?
Oh, well, I'd have to say it's very difficult for me to choose, but there are a bunch of them that I really feel happy about. One of them is Tare Zameen Par. One of them is Three Idiots. The other one I love is Lagaan. I also think Dangal is a great film.
Dil Chahta Hai?
Dil Chahta Hai, yeah. Then PK is, there are a bunch of ones that I find difficult to choose from. I find,
Gajni?
Gajni, Jo Jeeta Wohi Sikandar. These are difficult films to choose from. As I was saying earlier, in the creative field, even if I have to pick my favorite from my films,
Will be tough.
I'll find it difficult,
Yes.
Aamir and Jyoti, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking to you both.
Thank you, Haroon.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
And
Thank you.
not poverty porn.
Not poverty porn,
I
absolutely not.
respectfully disagree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aamir, Jyoti, take care and all the best.
Thank you.